Hello everyone, in this video I want to quickly go over how to set up a turntable for your 3D assets. I will be using Maya and Arnold for this demonstration, however this topic can be applicable towards any 3D software. So what is a turntable? A turntable allows you to show off any 3D assets you've made, and these work excellent for building portfolios. So in this top left one, this is a beauty pass, the top right is an ambient occlusion pass, and the bottom right is a wireframe pass. So let's go ahead and recreate these from scratch. And the first thing I want to do is come up here to create cameras and camera. I'm going to go ahead and click this panel's drop down perspective and click camera 1, and now just start framing up the camera that I just made. I'm going to turn on this resolution gate, that way I can actually see what are the bounding box of my camera. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the camera, come over here to channel box, and Maya defaults its camera to 35mm lens. In this case, I'm going to change it to 70. Typically a number between 50 and 80 is a good range for something like this. Now I just kind of want to pull back the camera a little bit. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to zero out translate X, X being the horizontal axis that this asset sits on, and then zero out rotate Y. This just so I can get this asset perfectly straight. If I come over here in this top-down view, notice how I have the camera and the asset. They're just perfectly aligned with one another. So just going to come back here to camera 1. And now I'm going to animate this phone rotating. Now I'm going to click this phone right here. And before I actually do that, if I come back to this render is a 10-second turntable. I feel like 10 seconds works really well because it's just fast enough where you can see everything, but not be too slow to the point where it just gets kind of boring to watch. Now, since I'm doing 24 frames per second, 24 times 10 would be 240. So I'm going to change this number down here to 240. Going to go ahead and with this phone selected, come over to frame 1, hit S. That's going to key my first position, and then come over here to the last frame. Now, instead of putting a key on 240, I actually want to put a key on 241. That way my first and last frame are not identical. So on frame 241, I'm going to rotate this by 360, hit S again, and now I can look at my animation, and the phone is rotating over those 10 frames. But notice by default there is an ease out and ease in on this, which I don't want. So to fix that, come up here to Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and there's that ease in and ease out. So I'm just going to select all these keys, hit this linear tangent up the top. The line should go perfectly straight. And now when I view this again and hit play, it should just be rotating nice and smooth. Now I'm going to come over to the render settings, open this up, and there's a handful of things I want to change in here. To start off, right now there is no name, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this, and I'm actually going to use one of these tokens right here. So in this case, I'm going to use the scene token, and what this is going to do is it's just going to name the render based on whatever the scene name is. In this case, the scene is just called Eiffel Tower Phone Rigging V5. For this render, I'm just going to stick with PNGs. The start and end frame needs to be 1 to 240. I want to make sure I set the renderable camera to camera 1, and the preset should be 1080. 1080 means that it's going to be 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels tall. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I am going to render this at significantly smaller, just so I can get something out faster. So I'm just going to do 320 by 240. And I'm also going to just shorten the animation. Again, this is purely for this demo, just so I can get something pretty quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and render 10 frames. Now, in order to get these frames out, I want to make sure I come to this drop down and be under rendering. And then I'm going to click render, come over to render sequence. And I already have this path pasted, but this is the path that I want the renders to go to. So I'm just going to go ahead and click render sequence. And notice how that is rendering right here already. And just like that, in a few moments, I have my turntable of this phone. So next, I want to take this one step farther and include an ambient occlusion render and a wireframe render. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and open up this render settings. Over on the right, I'm going to click this AOVs, and I'm going to go ahead and create 2 layers for both the AO and the wireframe. So first one, just going to name AO, click create, and the second one, I'm going to click wireframe. Click create. Now, right now, these are completely empty. If I try to render this, nothing's going to happen because I have yet to include the actual nodes that it requires. So this first one, I'm going to click this little drop down, do select AOV node, open up the attribute editor, and I want to come over to shader, click the little checker box, and just search for ambient occlusion. And since I'm rendering with Arnold, there it is. So AI ambient occlusion. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing for wireframe. Going to click this little drop down, select AOV, hit the little checker box, and search for wireframe. Make sure I'm under Arnold. There's AI wireframe. Now, Arnold by default, it's going to start rendering as triangles. So I'm going to change this to polygons. And back over on common, looks like I need to include scene again. And I'm going to include one additional thing. When I hit this little slash, slash is going to then create a folder. I'm going to right click and include render pass. This way, when it renders, it's going to name it based on beauty, AO, or wireframe. So when I come over here to render sequence, now when I open up this folder, it is creating that V5 folder that I specified. And within this folder, notice how I have AO, I have my beauty, and I have my wireframe, and all 3 of them are rendering at the same time.